All right. Hello, Internet. My name is Sam Laird. I cover sports for Mashable. Thanks for tuning in to this segment of the hashtag Sports Conference. This segment is called The Rise of the Activist Athlete. We had a little change of plans here at the last minute. Paul Rabel, lacrosse star, was going to join us, but he had a conflict in his schedule, and we're joined instead by a very cool guest, Devon Still, NFL player. Hey, Devon.
What's
Thanks
going
for
on?
being here.
No problem.
Yeah. So just to kind of set the context here, like it or not, folks, we live in a world now. It's a world of hashtags and retweets and trending topics and viral phenomena that you cannot escape no matter how hard you try. It's a social media-driven world that has no shortage of potential pitfalls for professional athletes who, tweet the wrong thing or slide into the wrong person's DMs. We see this day after day, unfortunately. New examples of this. But, in this brave and still new world, there is also a lot of opportunity for athletes. One of those opportunities is the ability to use social media as a platform to express themselves about the world beyond sports or their own personal lives in ways that weren't quite possible, even just 5 or 10 years ago. And another possibility is activating audiences around social and charitable causes that they hold near and dear. Devon was Devon and his daughter Leah were kind of the protagonists of one of these stories just this past fall, as basically story after story coming out of the NFL was depressing and negative in one way or another. And then in September, Devon's story kind of came to light, and it was an inspiring counterpoint to a lot of the other news that we were seeing. It had to do with his daughter Leah, who's actually there in the room with him. You might see her darting around. She was battling stage 4 cancer, and at the time was given a 50-50 chance of survival. Devon, how is Leah doing today?
She's doing good. She finished up her first round of treatment about a week ago, and we're going to go in for a new treatment this Friday, which will be her last round of her chemo and her antibodies. So hopefully we get some good news coming back after that treatment.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. It sounds like things were on much shakier ground just a few months ago.
Yeah, it was. When we got the results back, they said that she still had a lot of the disease left in her body. So we had to go into a new clinical trial to see if the type of medicines they use in this trial, in fact, works better to attack her neuroblastoma cells.
Fantastic. So in September, if you weren't familiar with the story, folks who are watching, Devon was kind of on the fringe of the Cincinnati Bengals roster, but obviously he had more pressing concerns in his life than his football career at the moment, with everything going on with Leah's health. But he started sharing photos of himself and Leah on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, and just the bond that they had really touched a lot of people. And it actually ended up being this whole sort of movement that became kind of a viral sensation among fans. And then the Bengals got involved by selling Devon Still jerseys, his number 75 jersey, with proceeds from those going to the Cincinnati Children's Hospital pediatric cancer ward, or cancer research facility. Devon, from your side, we kind of all saw it from the outside, the story developing, but kind of from your side, why did you initially start sharing the photos of you and Leah, and just how did that kind of affect or help what you guys are going through?
Well, back in June is when I first decided to put my daughter's story on social media, and the reason being I wanted to give families that didn't have the platform a voice to be heard of what it's like for a family to deal with pediatric cancer, in hopes of raising awareness and raising funds to fight this disease. and it kind of just took off. And I knew that using my social media would be the best platform because it's really the only way you can reach the masses for free out here. You know, a lot of people play for commercials and stuff like that, and it costs a lot of money. But just putting out there on social media, you have 100,000 followers, at least 25,000 of them is going to see it. Hopefully, they continue to repost the stuff that you put up, and it just spreads all over the place. And that's kind of what happened with me and my daughter's story.
Yeah. Did you? I mean, I'm sure you probably didn't have any like specific, predictions, but did you ever imagine it would have gotten as big as it did among fans and media?
Not at all. And how fast it grew
Uh-huh.
definitely surprised me. But, even with the jersey sales, the Bengals put it out there on the Twitter account that they were selling the jerseys. And from right there, it just took off. It's kind of crazy how many people pay attention to social media. It's like professional athletes are put in a unique position where people really care about what's going on in your life and they want to follow what you do day in and day out. So using your social media as a platform to reach out to those fans, it definitely has an impact.
Yeah, it's very cool to hear you with that perspective. Did Was this kind of a first time thing for you? Trying to use this platform for a greater good, or did you have any kind of experience doing so before?
I think to reach the amount of people that I wanted to reach, this was my first time doing it. I've done other things when I do charity work or run camps and stuff for the youth,
Hmm.
but definitely this has been a dream come true. Like the way that people have really rallied to my daughter's story and helped raise funds for pediatric cancer just based off of the things I've been putting on my Instagram.
Very cool, very cool. Um, were you kind of just doing what felt natural and kind of uh, figuring it all out as you went along, or did you have any kind of template that you were following? Not necessarily like a straight up blueprint, but maybe like you'd seen someone else who had done something similar in the past, or just kind of what was your sort of familiarity with this kind of drive in the past, or was it something you completely made up as you went along?
No, it's actually something I've been doing. I didn't really stray away from what I've been using my Instagram for from the very beginning of me having it. If you look back to weeks, months, or even years ago on my Instagram, you see me putting up nothing but pictures of me and my daughter the whole time.
Hmm.
I guess that the unique bond, or people can tell that it's a genuine bond between me and my daughter, and that's what's captivated a lot of people.
Hmm.
But I think putting out there pictures of like her going through different treatments and stuff like that, I started doing that so that people can get an inside look of what families are going through. Because before my daughter was diagnosed with cancer, I had no idea it was this hard to go through. So I'm trying to use my platform to let people who are not going through this understand what families are going through. Therefore, they can help those families out.
Hmm. Did During all this time, did Leah have a an inkling of how much support was coming in online from folks, or was she kind of just dealing with her day to day?
No, she knew exactly what was going on. Whenever I post pictures of me and her on Instagram, she'll always sit there and make me read all the comments that people saying. But it's like thousands of comments, so there's no way I can read all those comments to her. So I pick
Yeah,
a couple of comments and read it to her. And she knows how much people is rooting for her, how many people support her with all the gifts that people have been sending her from off my social media. And it's truly been amazing.
that's awesome. What's been the effect on her um, of realizing that support? I mean, how did it sort of make her feel during that process during that time?
Famous. She thinks she's a movie star. And I think that really it helps her spirits out because one
Uh-huh.
thing I think the toughest battle with cancer is trying to keep your spirits up and not letting it weigh you down because that's the biggest part of the battle is having the right mindset. 'Cause, once you have that wrong mindset, it's like your body starts to give up on you.
Uh-huh.
And people have been supporting my daughter and she's been on TV and stuff like that has really helped her out and kept a smile on her face and kept positive energy around her.
Yeah, that's awesome that much support from so many people could help this one little girl going through an awful ordeal and trial. But kind of expanding it to the broader scope of families that are struggling with pediatric cancer. Have you heard from other people who are in similar situations, given how big your and Leah's story has gotten? And if so, what kinds of things have you heard from those people?
I hear from families all the time that are dealing with the same circumstances as me and my daughter, and they basically just thank me for going public with my daughter's story because they know how hard it is, and it allows people to understand what their family's going through. Because a lot of them want to get their story out there, but they don't have the platforms to do so.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I thought it was very vital for me to use my platform to get it out there. Because when I'm telling the stories about what my daughter's going through, I want people to comprehend that it's just not me and my family that's going through these issues. There's other families out there that are going through the same issues, if not worse, because they don't have the same support that I had. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully letting people know the hardships of what families deal with, that people step up and they help out those families that don't have the platform, because we all need help, not just me because I play football.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, I'm curious what, as a pro football player, an NFL player, and a college star before that, what kind of or how much kind of advice and guidance have you gotten uh, regarding social media from either coaches or agents or PR reps or whoever, and how much of it is just got to be your own kind of trial and error when figuring out how best to use these platforms?
I try to listen to advice as much as possible. You don't really have that big of a margin to go through trial and error because, like you said, people take social media pretty serious. So if you tweet the wrong thing, post a picture of the wrong thing, it's kind of hard to get the public to forgive you and get that view of you out of the public eye. So we do have people to come and talk to us when we have team meetings or whatnot and tell us what we should try to promote on social media and what we should stay away from. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as my daughter's story, I've kind of been creating my own lane, creating my own path of what I wanted to share and what exactly I want to put out there.
Mm-hmm. So you said you've heard from a lot of other families dealing with. Hey, there's Leah. Hey, Leah. You said you've dealt with a lot of other families, or heard from a lot of other families who appreciate the support and your kind of rallying awareness for uh, pediatric cancer and also raising money for it. Have you heard from other athletes about what you and Leah have been doing, and if so, what have they been saying to you?
Yeah, just to try to stay strong. You know, whenever we played teams, I had players from other teams, or if I go out and I see other players, they tell me that they like the way that I'm supporting my daughter and how I'm trying to be there for her and not like picking my career over my daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
you know that means a lot to me because although it's not a hard choice for me um, to pick my daughter over a sport, because at the end of the day, you can get football back with the right opportunities, but time lost with your child is something that you definitely can't get back. So just to have the support of my fellow athletes, it definitely helps me out with making the decisions that I've been making. And just to know that because I'm putting my story and my daughter's story out there, that families that are dealing with the same thing, they look up to our story so much that they write me asking me for advice of how they should handle certain things. It, it just shows the amount of respect that people have for me and what my daughter is going through. And we're trying to use this in the best way possible to help those families out. And that's one of the main reasons that me and my daughter decided to team up and write a book, just to help families deal with this even better than they are now, and definitely help kids deal with the transition from a normal life to dealing with pediatric cancer. Because when my daughter got diagnosed, it wasn't no handbook that told us how to handle things.
Mm-hmm.
We just took what I knew about my daughter and tried to implement that into the changes that she was going through, to try to make it easier on her.
Very cool. What else can you share about the book? What's it going to be about, and what's the idea behind it? It's the first I've heard of it, so it sounds cool.
Um, the book is called "I Am Laird Strong," and what it does, it tells my daughter's story of how it was before she was diagnosed and how it was after she was diagnosed, and how we went about making that transition, because it's a lot of changes that go on with your life, and it's a lot of new things for the parents, and it's a lot of new things for the kids. And I think it's harder for the kids because they're used to a certain routine. going to daycare or going to school. So now all of a sudden they're in the hospital all the time. They can't do extracurricular activities. Like my daughter was a part of dance class and swimming classes, and she wasn't allowed to do those things anymore. So just trying to get them used to always being around doctors and always being in the hospital, it's definitely hard. So what we did in the book is just tell the things that we did to help the transition be a little bit smoother for my daughter, and hopefully families can look at what we did and put their own twist to it to help out their kids.
Awesome. Is the book out yet, or when is it going to be available?
It comes out later this February, at the end of February, but people can pre-order the book now at iamlearstrong.com.
Cool. Very cool. It sounds like something that could potentially be of great use to a lot of families now and in the future. Is it? Do you think this book would exist if it hadn't been for the way you were able to share the story on social media in the first place?
For me and my daughter, no, because we decided to write the book because there's so many people following our story. If we didn't have that many people following our story, I don't think the book would really have the impact that we're hoping for, because it's hard to get people to go out and buy stuff that they don't know anything about. But because people have been following me and my daughter's story since June, because of social media, I think that we can have a real impact with this book and help out a lot of families.
Yeah, very cool. So what are some of the little bits of advice or just bits of your experience that you share in the book? I mean, what are some of the examples of the kinds of stuff that people can find there?
We talk about how we dealt with my daughter having her hair loss from the chemo, which is pretty hard. It was pretty hard for her, even though that's probably the smallest thing. Dealing with cancer is the physical changes with losing your hair. That's probably the least thing that you're worried about. But for a kid, especially a girl, losing your hair it's a big deal. So we knew that she was going to take that hard. So we basically just put out in the book the things that we told her. We put how we explained what cancer was to her and the different type of treatments that she was going to have, and we put in a book about what was going to happen when she stopped going to school and stopped being able to hang out with her friends, because that's what kids like to do. They like going to daycare. They like seeing their friends all the time. You take that away from them, it's pretty hard, especially being in the hospital all the time and not having too many friends in the hospital. So we basically went from when she was first diagnosed to where we're at now, and all the different things that kids are going to have to go through. And we tried to hit every point that we felt as though was very important in that process of making that transition.
Very cool. At what point in the kind of evolution of your guys' journey since June did it become apparent that, we're getting so much attention and support here that we might as well write a book? I mean, was there a moment where, things kind of hit a critical mass online, or did it kind of develop more slowly?
We didn't do that until probably we started the book probably about 2 months ago. And it really wasn't because of the following that we had where we was like, oh, we might as well write a book. No, when you're sitting in the hospital, you really have nothing to do all day. You have a lot of time to think. And when I'm sitting there going through the DMs that I'm getting from families, and I'm seeing how much people are really trying to confide in me on how they should handle their situation with their child dealing with pediatric cancer, I talked to my daughter about it, and I know she's into reading a lot, so I felt the perfect thing to do instead of respond to the thousands of messages I get is just put out a book from my perspective and my daughter's perspective to help those families out, so they have sort of a guideline or a handbook on how to handle the situation.
Obviously you were able to kind of champion this cause of pediatric cancer awareness and research and support in a very personal way, given what you and Leah were and still are dealing with. But kind of more generally, for athletes who do have a following online and a particular cause in mind that they want to support, even if it's not one that they have the direct connection to that that you guys do with yours, what kind of do you think are the keys for those athletes to spreading the message that they want online in the most effective ways?
Um, I really can't tell people how to use their social media, but I feel like because we have so many people willing to follow us, so many people want to know what we're doing in our daily life, I think that we should use social media to make an impact, a positive impact on the world. Basically, it's so many negative things that are going on in this world, and we have a voice to, to get our opinions out there to help the people out. And I think that that's what we should use social media for. And I think the biggest thing that you can do to make that impact and have the following that me and my daughter uh, have gotten over these past couple of months is just be genuine. Like people can tell when you're genuine or when you're faking something. But if people say that you really have a passion for something, they're going to be willing to support you and follow your story and help you out or help your cause out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Are there any other specific athletes in whatever sport that come to mind to you as far as being particularly good at, not just using social media to kind of share what they think about the game or kind of use it to promote bigger, more important causes?
I think the one person that I follow that I feel as though makes a big impact, and it's definitely because it's a personal issue towards me and my family, is Russell Wilson. He has the Fight Against Cancer campaign that he has going on. And when you see the things that he put up, he's put up things that he's passionate about, which is going to the hospital all the time and visit the different kids, just, trying to put a smile on their face. Because like I said, at the end of the day, the biggest battle with cancer is keeping these kids' spirits up. And for him to take the time out of his day and constantly go to the hospital, spend time with those kids and, promote that on social media and show people that you can have an impact and that he's willing to do whatever he can to help those kids out, I think is big. And I think that's a perfect example of how to use your social media to get out there and get people to support a cause.
Yeah, awesome. We are coming up on 20 minutes here, which I think is roughly our limit. But Devon, first of all, thanks for being so open with your and Leah's story. It's been really inspiring to see the support that's led around you guys, and hopefully is something that will inspire other athletes to make the best out of awful circumstances in the future. Is there anything that you want to add before we get off the air here that we didn't touch on?
No, pretty good.
Cool. So yeah, if you're out there and not familiar with Devon and Leah's story, you can just Google Devon Still. There's plenty of articles out there, and as he mentioned, IamLeahStrong.com is where the forthcoming book lives for now, so you can check that out too. But thanks again for your time, Devon, and your insight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks to everyone who tuned in out there.